Okay, welcome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have this chat with you guys, Doug Campbell and Marissa Campbell. Really excited to have this chat. So, Doug, I want to just introduce you to an audience that might not know you. You are someone who sells high-end cars from that are designed by Superformance Cars, and you sell them for Hillbank in Irvine. And you also developed a car for SEMA, which is really, really, really exciting. So if people find you, they will see some of that awesome activity. And then Marissa, who is an executive top tier for a top tier health and wellness company, developed a brand called Supercars and Superfoods with you, Doug. And so awesome that you guys have taken different pieces of your lives and brought them into one mission, one vision, you know? So what I'm going to do here is that's really like who we are out there in the world. And then I want to just bring it down to the way that I know you guys actually is that we're neighbors. So we're going to just bring this down to being neighbors and here on Balboa Island, and we're neighbors, friends, and we're also business partners. So it's a really interesting kind of coming together. And we've been on this journey. Well, I met you guys back in 2015, actually on the 4th of July, 2015 at the beach. So you were literally strangers to me. And it was at a time where it was 2 months before, we call it in my world of the grief world, an angelversary. So what that means is that, you know, just before the first year of my son's passing. So needless to say, when I met you, I was feeling really incredibly vulnerable and alone because I had moved here to live near my son. And then he died 9 months later. But I had some guidance inside of me that helped me to get out of the house, even though I felt like I was dragging myself around. And when I would meet, and it happened a few times where I would meet people, be in conversations with people where things were just like hopeful and really possible. And I felt that with you guys, but I thought it was more about if my son had lived, he would have loved you guys because you would have, like, you're the same age group and stuff like that. And just really, it would be really, really fun. And I'm sure I would have known you through him. But instead, it was meeting you when I did. So also at that time, though, what I came to learn later was that you got, well, actually, I think Marissa told me about that day that you guys were getting married the next month. So here it was July 2015, you were getting married, planning your wedding in August. So that was really something awesome coming to life. And you were there with your son, Douglas. And so it was really just a nice beachy day, but some other things that were kind of moving and shaking that felt really, really good. So oftentimes life changes. So this chat is about life-changing experiences and what gets us through and how we find our way. And so you guys had a wedding. Of course, that's a life-changing experience. And you know, I've been witness to how that's really unified you guys and brought you together. But it's the life-changing experiences that leave us asking, how the hell am I going to survive this? What am I going to do next that really shows like what we're made of and pulls out of us something that we don't even know that we have? So that's the purpose of this. And if you'll indulge me in sharing and being vulnerable and sharing, you know, your stories, because I think, you know, when you just look at where you're at today, it's like, it's really fabulous. But and I think this is true with most leaders, is that there's a time where it wasn't so clear. And that's what I'd like to share with people. So if you don't mind, Marissa, identifying, you know, sharing with us, like, what happened? What was that life? You know, we have many probably in life, but, you know, what was that thing that happened?
Oh man. So for me, it was a culmination of what I call like the trifecta. And the final straw that broke the camel's back, the final piece of the three, was exiting my career, my restaurant, which I was in partnership with my mom and my dad for over 20 years. And it was tough because, at that point I was, 30, no, 40, going on like 41. And for 2 decades, so since my 20s, it was all I knew. So it was really, I had my whole identity wrapped up in that. And so for me, it was the shattering of pretty much everything that I knew to be stable in my life. My parents were divorcing. I had gone through a divorce myself. And then exiting the restaurant and seeing someone that I care deeply about, suffer so severely from drugs and alcohol. And it really collapsed my whole world, my emotional state, my mental state, and my financial state. Because I went from, being financially secure to like walking away and having no plan, like zero plan. So yeah, it was a defining moment for sure. But I knew like in that moment, it was like no turning back. You know what I mean? Like I saw it clear as day, like this is the end of what I know, the end of an era, right? Like this is the end of what I know, and it's never going to be the same.
And at that moment, like something like that, when that realization happens, it's like you scramble to figure out, like, what am I going to do? Usually what we do is we want to recreate as much as we can of what we had, because it makes sense. It's like, I can, that I know. So how did it go for you?
Same. That's exactly what happened. And I think that you hit the nail on the head with that. It's such a natural thing to do because you just want to recreate what you know and have some sense of normalcy back. So for me, it was like, okay, I'll just recreate another restaurant and do it on my own terms. It's what I knew. And frankly, I thought I was really good at it. So I roped everybody in on the idea. I had Doug in on it. I had my mom in on it. I had her boyfriend in on it. And, we were just, that was the plan. But sometimes a higher power, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, lays these things out for us in a journey, and it sets the stage for bigger and better things to come, and bigger and better through that pain and through that sorrow and through the grief. There's something else at work.
You have to be able to let go, though. You have to be able to let go and to recognize. It was kind of like, in a very small way, recognizing that there was something about meeting the two of you. I didn't know what. I had no idea that it would be ever connected to making a living or my wellness. I had no idea that was anything that was in the cards at all. But trusting that there's something, what is that, so thank you for sharing that, because that is really, that's really good advice to, realize that something else is happening, right?
Yeah. And I think what happens when we're in the middle of the thrones of the change, when the change is happening and we're kind of in that whirlwind and we're tumbling around, I think that there is something that happens for most people, at least the people that I've shared similar experiences with. We all have this common ground, and then something inside of you feel it. You feel it like in your gut, kind of like what you described. Like, something, like there's something more. And if you can just be conscious enough to not discard that and not shove it down, but just recognize it and be okay with not knowing how that's going to lay out, but just that something has come up for you.
Well, that's very scary for a lot of people. That's very scary.
Very scary.
Very scary when, life has been going in a certain direction. And Doug, I'd like you to chime in here as well, because, life is chugging along and it looks like a certain way. And then what happened for you? You had a life changing experience as well.
Yeah, when we got married, well, before we got married, I was an executive with a Fortune 500 company. Is one of the fourth largest investor-owned utility company in the country. Had a very successful career, appeared very successful on the outside. I thought I was fine, and did this big business plan for my division before we left to go get married. And we came back from the wedding after being off for 2 weeks. And keep in mind, this was in August. And my vice president told me, forget the 5-year plan you just created, as great as that was. We have to cut all the budgets by 30% by the end of the year. And I remember coming home to Marissa and going, I'm just done. I'm really done. And she said, well, why don't you retire? I was 55. I had 20 years of service with the company, so I was eligible to retire. But I was raised where you don't leave a job until you have another job. My mindset was completely different. And she said, if you retire, you'll have plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do next. And it was like a bell going off in my head. And I'm like, wow, that's so counterintuitive to how I was raised and my whole philosophy. But I was like, wow, she's right. And so I went in the next day and told them, I said, no, we can cut the budget. We can consolidate all my operations up at the next level. And I'm out of here. And
Wow.
yeah, everyone was shocked. My peers were all like, yeah, take him.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. I stayed on all the way through end of February. They asked me to stay on to lead the transition. So it gave me the chance to lead through the transition and make sure I could take care of my team and exit on my terms, which was absolutely incredible. And, Marissa, one of the many things I've learned from her, she said, if you get all the negative stuff out of your life, it makes room for all the positive stuff to come in. And I told her when we decided I was going to retire that whatever I did next, I wanted to be around my one real passion I've had all my life, which was cars. And lo and behold, retired was all done into February. And in April, we were actually on a cruise with a local car club. And the owner of Superformance, who I've known for 15 years, asked me what I was doing. And I said, nothing, I'm retired. And he's like, why don't you come work for me?
Wow.
And so the rest is history, as they say. But there is no way that I would have had the confidence and the ability to walk away from that career without having watched my wife do it first and watch her completely reinvent herself. I would have never known that anything like that was possible.
Because you didn't have an experience of that. That wasn't how you were raised. It was not what you saw.
No, I grew up, you go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, and then you get a job working for a company with that degree. You don't just walk away from a stable career. But really, what enabled that was this program that Marissa got on to get ready for the wedding. And honestly, that was really, when you look back at it, that was the pivotal moment for me, because I didn't think I needed a nutrition program for sure. And I thought otherwise my life was fine, but I realized I was sleepwalking in this fog, and really just unconsciously, going from day to day to day without realizing that I was just sleepwalking through life.
Well, I can relate to that. Because grief does that. Grief, there's a name for it, grief brain. And, you just drag in and it's not like you're just trying to pull yourself through life. And wow. So that clarity, the nutrition just lights things up, doesn't solve your problems.
Right.
It doesn't solve the problem, but it just gives you that increased energy to think creatively, to think openly, to open your life up and try, because you have the energy to actually try. Okay, I'll try this and see.
Yeah. It was not only, did I have a physical transformation, but really it was more the energy, like you're saying, and the mental clarity, and then the confidence in myself, the belief that I can do anything I want. The program combined with watching Marissa do what she did just gave me the confidence to believe that no matter what happens, it's going to turn into something better.
That's awesome. Now, when did you start doing some coaching? Because as an entrepreneur, I mean, when you're out there on your own, flying on your own, there's no structure. There's no structure. So I know that the program, because, I'm on this program as well, what helped me at the time that I was in grief was, okay, do this in the morning, do this in the evening, then have your meal. So that structure really helped me. But then there's that structure of rebuilding yourself. And where did that come from for you?
For me, again, Marissa was leading by example. And just like in the beginning, I thought this nutrition program, I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't need any of that. And then found out completely different. I felt the same way about the coaching. Like I've been in corporate America for like 40 years. I've been successful executive. I don't need a business coach. But as you're saying, when you're an entrepreneur and you're out on your own, it's a totally different mindset, a totally different way to go. I'll let Marissa talk about it because she's the one that initially found Jeff and coached with Jeff. And I really learned a lot through osmosis, just going through her coaching and listening to calls.
I've had several coaches over the last 5 years since I started this journey. And as a restaurant owner and a catering company owner for 20 years, I never had one business coach. I had a therapist, and I was in the throes of the business. And it was one of the beautiful gifts of this whole reinvention and the community and the company that we're aligned with now is that they're so proactive on enabling you and empowering you to become your best self. And through that, I have learned every entrepreneur deserves to have a coach. A coach needs a coach. An entrepreneur needs a coach, and your business and your life is only going to be as good as the people that you surround yourself with. So I've had several. I've never gone without a coach since I started this new journey. Jeff was a huge part of it at the beginning, and I credit so much of my growth and my stability to him. But I've had since him 2 other female coaches. Basia, you have even been an incredible life coach to me I think at the tail ends of leaving the restaurant and coming into the health and wellness company. You had given me some life coaching along the way, and it was incredible. And I'm entirely grateful to you for that. And I'm currently, I mean, it was just amazing the way that you bridged me through. On a
I
side
think I
note,
work really well with the emotions, the emotional self.
yeah, you do. And now the nutrition, I mean, you're just incredible. And I'm currently working with a mindset coach. And what I love about her is she has brought together the spiritual aspect along with the mindset piece of it. So reprogramming your belief. So a lot of belief work and how that plays in, coupled with spirituality and working with the universe and just co-creating together. And yes, it's a journey. It's a journey, but I'll never not have a coach ever again in my life. Like I will forever be a student.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now now that you guys have come through that middle part, the middle of the sandwich, reinventing and fueling your bodies so where do you see your health and nutrition business going? Like what do you see with this?
Well, ironically, I just got off of a corporate leadership call, and I'm just so fired up with everything that is coming down the pipeline. And sometimes, we have to go through a crisis in order to really be awakened. And I think in the health and wellness arena, what's happening, especially with our alignment in our company, is the perfect solution, the perfect, storm per se, in a great way with a great outcome. People right now more than ever are looking at their health and their wellness. This quarantine has really impacted people. So people are saying quarantine 15, whatever that might be, but they're sick and tired of feeling junky and not being able to work out and all of that. So health and wellness is a huge concern for people, and they're more stressed out than ever over finances and uncertainty and what's going to be happening in the future. So from a business perspective, people are now starting to realize the importance of having multiple streams of income, whatever that looks like for you. And this alignment with this company allows people to do that as well, simply by sharing the gift of food and healthy food. So that's super exciting. And then the third piece of the puzzle is community. Again, being in isolation, we're really starting to see the awakening of what happens. And even in your grief work, Basia, I'm sure you see this, like isolation really can complicate problems for people, not only in their health, but their wellness and their finances. So having a community that you can plug into that is with you for life is something that's really exciting for me. So as Doug and I move forward into the next chapters of our life, what's most exciting for me is our mission. We're helping people specifically that love cars get healthy, right?
Yeah, trim down.
Right? Trim down.
So
And a perfect example, Doug had a client that came in to buy a car who's 70 years old, and the gentleman was 300 plus pounds. He couldn't get out of the car. He was stuck in the vehicle for 25 minutes on a joyful occasion to come buy the car of his dreams, right? This guy's got a car collection in his garage in Malibu, and he's unable to get out of his car. So here we are. This is a real thing for people, right?
Yeah.
So we connected, and we're helping him, and now he is getting healthy. He's in his first week. He's lost 13 pounds. I mean, and he starting to think about the car that he's going to order from Doug. So it's about not just getting into your favorite car, but it's about living your best life and being able to realize your dreams and go after what you want, and not get to the end of the road and not be able to fulfill them because you're sick, you're not feeling good, or you've got health conditions along the way. So for Doug and I, it's really, it's fun. It doesn't feel like work. We're both passionate about what we do. And I think for us, it's going to be traveling, and doing fun car stuff and helping people forever. I mean, we'll be helping people to the day we can't, because it's what we do. And I think it's all why we're here on this planet.
The amazing thing about this business is that, you go forward in the communities that you really gravitate with.
You do.
And
you're helping your friends.
And where you have compassion, or where you have love and joy and, all these things. And that's where you can build. And it's so beautiful. It's not like this company requires that you do this way or that way. Yet the training is really, it's you plug in, and it's the only business that I know that you don't have overhead. You don't have, a down payment for a location or anything like that. It's
incredible. You have no overhead. There's no buy-in to get into the company. You don't require any training whatsoever or educational degree or diploma in anything. So it really is the only place that I know of that completely levels the playing field for everyone. And we all start in the same spot. We all start, our salary, our earnings, it's level. Like nobody comes in higher than the other. Like we all start at the same space, and we all have the same opportunity to create whatever we want to create out of it. And it's just magical.
Yeah, fabulous. Oh my gosh, this was so good. Really, really great.
I get fired up. Can you tell?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys so much. And I'll leave a link with this video. If people want to get in touch with you, there'll be a link to reach you. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Doug, I love you.
Love you too, hon.
You're the best.
You too,
Basia,
thank you so much.
Basia, thank you so much. We are
Thank
so
you.
grateful to have you in our life. You're amazing.
Oh my gosh, this has been great. Thank you. I'm going to end the recording.
Okay.